A step toward closure tonight for the people who knew and loved Ma Kang. The East Colfax community activist and restaurant owner was shot and killed nearly 3 years ago. Kang had brought her family to Denver from Myanmar about 2 decades ago. She became a prominent leader in the refugee community here. Today, one of 4 men charged in her death learned his punishment. Lou Ray was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. 9 News reporter Ria Jha was at his sentencing.
She represented the American dream for their family.
Denver restaurant owner and community activist Ma Kang came here chasing the American dream.
So, Your Honor, I first have a letter here that was sent to us from John Lynn, the son of Ma Kang, the victim in this case.
On Friday, Lou Ray, the man who took that dream away nearly 3 years ago, was sentenced to life in prison.
On July 15, 2022, my mother's life was taken from us. I remember the time, the night, every second. I held her as she took her last breath.
She was unloading groceries with her son when she was hit by a stray bullet during a shootout in Denver's East Colfax neighborhood.
Mr. Ray, the court was able to see firsthand the impact that this incident had on members of your community, on our community, and on Ma Kang's family.
Ray listened to the translator through headphones as the judge read his sentence. He declined to speak.
Ma Kang was a beloved member of the community and honestly a champion of the American dream. The harm that you caused her, her family, and the community as a whole over something so trivial and unnecessary is completely avoidable and tragic and also horrifying.
While Kang's son wasn't in the courtroom Friday, his words about his mother's legacy echoed through it.
While my mother may have forgiven those who wronged her, because that's the kind of person she was, I cannot. I carry that pain with me, not as hatred, but as a reminder of what we lost. May God forgive the one who took her, but I won't. And I don't need to, because her legacy will always be stronger than our pain. Thank you.
In Denver, Ria Jha, 9 News.
2 other people charged in Ma Kang's death pleaded guilty to second-degree murder last year. They haven't been sentenced. A 4th man pleaded not guilty, and he'll be in court next month. Police in Lakewood are investigating a deadly head-on crash tonight. They say 2 cars collided on Wadsworth near Mansfield about 8 o'clock, and one of those cars caught fire. At this point, investigators are saying they believe the driver who caused the crash is the person who died. Thornton police are searching for the suspect in a road rage shooting. That shooting happened near the intersection of 104th and Colorado just before 6 tonight. Police say one driver shot another driver in the arm. A woman and a child were in the victim's car. They were not hurt. That driver took off in a red or maroon Jeep Grand Cherokee. Anybody with information about what happened in Thornton is asked to call police. Well, it was a gorgeous end to the week, and that beautiful weather is expected to stick around. Let's bring in 9 News meteorologist Corey Reppenhagen. Corey, we got the double game 7s tomorrow night, but outside that window, get outside.
Yeah, there's only those moments there where you need to be in front of the tube. But all else, all those outdoor activities that we have planned for tomorrow, man, that's a perfect day for that. It's going to be warm. We have a great night out here in downtown Denver. It's nice across the entire Front Range, except for Denver International Airport, where it's already down to 40 degrees. I think the aliens that live in that bunker underneath the airport come out and breathe cold air on the sensor every night here. That's why it's so much colder than everywhere else around the area. Look at the high temperatures, though, reported. Denver International Airport, 66 was the high temperature today. Some upper 60s across the area here, 75 out in Grand Junction. It was a real nice day across the area. Lots of blue skies and sunshine, and we'll carry that through the day again tomorrow. Tons of sunshine, getting those temperatures up into the 70s. Same thing on Sunday, where we'll have another warm day, mostly dry as well. And then the changes come on Monday. We're tracking some severe thunderstorms possible. We have a weather impact alert potential here, and I'll tell you about that coming up in the full forecast.
Tonight, the local music community is honoring Jill Sobule. Swallow Hill Music invited people to Tough Theater to remember the 66-year-old singer who died in a house fire in Minnesota yesterday. She was a musician originally from Denver, and she was scheduled to be back here playing at that venue tonight. Sobule will be best remembered for her 1995 song, I Kissed a Girl, the first openly queer-themed song to make it onto Billboard's modern rock chart. We spoke with a former music reporter for the Denver Post today who had interviewed Sobule over the years, and they became great friends. G. Brown says she will be dearly missed for her music and her social activism.
She never stopped working, and should be noted she was as much a social activist as she was a musician, and always admired her big heart.
Well-known musicians are sharing their own tributes tonight. Tracy Chapman, Rage Against the Machine, Tom Morello among them. A tight-knit community in northern Colorado is working to process terrible loss. A 7th grade teacher was killed this week in a head-on crash with a driver fleeing a sheriff's deputy. 9 News reporter Colton Chavez talked with one of the teacher's students who says that woman was like a second mom.
In school, there are lessons we forget.
She's a teacher at the school. 7th grade teacher, I had her.
Some stick with us forever.
I was talking to her about a personal, hard time I was going through that included people who weren't really the best. And she said, don't spend time crying over people who don't spend time thinking about you.
Kaylee Garcia will always remember her teacher, Christine Schwartz.
She was like a second mom. It feels pretty good to know that you have someone to talk to you and make school feel like it's worth going to.
Colorado State Patrol says Miss Schwartz was driving down Highway 85 in Platteville when a driver being chased by deputies in a stolen vehicle swerved into her lane, causing a head-on crash. Investigators say all 3 people in both cars were killed.
They really destroyed a whole community instead of one person.
A community that refuses to forget and chooses to honor their 7th grade teacher.
It just feels like now that she's gone, to share it with other people, or just kind of like I taught you so much, now kind of carried on your own.
A life taken too soon. But what was left behind are lessons that will shape people like Kaylee forever.
Think about what you're doing before you do it, because you don't know the people you will impact in the future.
Kaylee tells me she's asking everybody next week to wear purple. She tells me it's Ms. Schwartz's favorite color. In Weld County, Colton Chavez, 9 News.
The Trump administration just launched its first official legal action against Denver and the state of Colorado. Department of Justice filed a lawsuit today asking a judge to overturn state and city immigration policies. The lawsuit challenges the constitutionality of several state laws that limit local law enforcement's ability to enforce federal immigration law, restricts information sharing with ICE, and cuts down on ICE's ability to enter jails or interview inmates they suspect of immigration violations. It also tries to overturn an ordinance in Denver that prevents city employees from using city resources to help immigration agents and bars ICE from entering secure areas of the jail without a warrant. In response, Democratic Attorney General Phil Weiser says he's committed to defending state law, and Mayor Mike Johnston said the city will not be, quote-unquote, bullied or blackmailed. President Trump is trying to cut funding for NPR and PBS, continuing his attack on journalism, claiming that those outlets are biased against him. While the president's targets appear to be the national media outlets and public broadcasting, it's really the local affiliates, including those in Colorado, who say they will be most impacted. The majority of NPR and PBS government funding goes to the local stations. Affiliates in Colorado told us today they believe they do crucial work, especially in rural areas that are often undercovered.
We are in a news desert here in the Four Corners in southwestern Colorado. There are media outlets, but they're very far and few between.
While the noise is around defunding PBS or NPR, the reality is defunding a station that's run by your neighbors, that employs people in your community who know what your community needs.
So this may ultimately end up in court. Both NPR and PBS say the president does not have the unilateral authority to defund them. The Trump administration wants to give Elon Musk's Doge team access to the personal information of hundreds of millions of Americans. In an emergency appeal filed today, they asked the Supreme Court to give Doge permission to access data from the Social Security Administration. That would include medical records, bank account numbers, and tax returns. A judge in Maryland restricted the team's access under federal privacy laws, and an appeals court refused to lift the restriction. The government claims the Doge team needs access to Americans' personal information in order to target waste in government spending. So as the Trump administration strips government spending by the billions, it is also asking Congress to approve more spending on the military. The administration released a budget blueprint today, calls for boosting defense spending 13% to $1 trillion, with $175 billion for border security. To get there, the White House recommends cutting funding for education, foreign aid, health, and public assistance programs. A more complete plan will be released in the coming weeks, and it's Congress that will ultimately write and approve the budget. It appears President Trump is going to get his wish for an enormous military parade, and it will be on his birthday, June 14th. It also happens to be the Army's 250th birthday. The Associated Press got a hold of planning documents showing there will be 6,600 soldiers on parade, 50 aircraft, more than 150 vehicles. Trump has talked about wanting a big military parade since his first term in office. Trump seemed to get real jazzed about the idea after he attended the Bastille Day parade in Paris in 2017. Concerns about how much it would damage Washington's streets and the high cost meant his big military parade never happened in his first term. Experts say this birthday parade, on the scale described, would likely cost tens of millions of dollars. New Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney says he'll go to Washington to meet with Trump on Tuesday. He says their conversation will focus on Trump's tariff and the relationship between the U.S. and Canada, which Trump says he wants to take over and make the 51st state.
We have more than enough to do here at home. That point about we can give ourselves more than the Americans can take away is absolutely right.
Carney was sworn in as Canada's 24th Prime Minister in March after being elected leader of the Liberal Party. His party was headed for a disastrous defeat at the hands of Conservatives, and then Trump started threatening to take over Canada, and that changed everything. The polling flipped, and the Canadian Liberals beat the Conservatives. China says it is now reviewing proposals from the U.S. to begin trade talks. That is a shift in tone from Beijing. The Chinese government had been defiant since President Trump took on the world with his trade war and tariffs. Beijing is saying if they want to talk, though, Trump's tariff hikes must be canceled. Meanwhile, those tariffs keep kicking in on schedule with the potential to raise prices significantly for Americans. Within the last 10 minutes, midnight Eastern, tariffs on car parts started. A 25% import tax on all foreign-made cars and parts. That could translate to a price hike between $2,000 and $12,000 per car. And because the value of cars will then increase, our insurance premiums may go up hundreds as well.